are listening to Here Comes the Booze, a very special podcast, Halloween edition.
Nothing in the world is more rewarding than motherhood. You teach, you love, you care, you nurture, and you watch them grow stronger, healthier, and more lovely every day. Excuse me. How many times do I have to tell you no fighting in the house? Anyway, the best part about raising a family is that your husband's always there, day in, day out. Oh, he's more than just my partner and my lover. He's my soulmate.
Don't forget to follow us on Twitter at VeryPodcast or check out our website, averyspecialpodcast.com.
Hello, and welcome back to a very special podcast. This is the podcast in which we watch all of your favorite television series from yesteryear and then discuss them over a glass of wine. I'm Patrick M. Dunn. Perhaps you know me from the previous 54 episodes, and I'm joined here, as always, by Kat Halstead, the author.
Hello, everybody!
This is an exciting episode for us because we are slipping into Halloween season early this year, and we're going to bring you more screams than ever before.
Yeah.
And we always say that Halloween-themed episodes are our favorite episodes to watch and discuss, and that we wish we can do it all year long. But I guess too much of a good thing may be overkill, right?
Yeah, I think we always kind of hit that, like, Halloween hangover. We might go a little overboard.
Yeah, so that's why we just decided to start, like, a few weeks earlier just to get it out of our system.
Yeah, it's kind of just, like, jump in, do it, and see how we feel. See how long it takes before we get that candy crash.
Yes, so we kind of want to add a subtitle to our title this year. So The Simpsons has Trios of Horror. So we've decided to subtitle our Halloween episodes, Here Comes the Booze.
Okay.
It's spooky and it's boozy, like as in alcohol. We had to keep up with the theme of the podcast. And I guess what better way to kick off Here Comes the Booze with than the queen of booze herself, Roseanne Connor.
We are back to Roseanne for Halloween.
Yes, so we visited Lanford, Illinois twice before around Halloween time. So keeping up with the tradition, we're venturing back with Roseanne's third Halloween episode. This episode is titled Trick Me Up, Trick Me Down.
Yes, it is.
It's a season 4 episode, episode 6.
So I keep forgetting people can't see me nodding.
So I've tracked down the official summary from TV Guide.
Okay. Let's hear it.
Roseanne and Dan's Halloween scare for neighbor Kathy could backfire into a night of terror for the Connors.
Oh, really?
Yeah, would you say that was an accurate depiction of the episode?
No.
Because
not at all.
Well, like, TV Guide episode descriptions, they've been known to be off over the years, especially if the person writing the description has like a warped sense of humor, they enjoy sarcasm, or they're just completely oblivious to the show or movie they are writing about.
Yeah.
I think A Night of Terror for the Connors is just a little too out there.
Just a little. Like, I can't really see the Connors having a night of terror bestowed on them. They might be the ones bestowing it on someone else.
I mean, I guess, like, Roseanne was just worried that her prank would be trumped. So it wouldn't be terror.
Yeah, she spends the whole episode thinking that Kathy's going to get back at her. And Kathy could care less.
Well, Kathy could care less. Roseanne was just worried that her prank would be outdone. Because she is like the queen of Halloween pranks in Lanford, Illinois.
Exactly.
Like, this is her wheelhouse right here.
This is like the greatest day of the year as far as she's concerned.
Yes, like, this is her wheelhouse. She's going to be trumped by fucking Kathy, the new neighbor. Like, she just moved into Lanford, like, less than a year ago, maybe?
Yeah, like, maybe a couple months before. Not that long ago.
Yeah, the Bowmans, Kathy Bowman, they turn up in the house next door like midway in season 3.
I think so, yeah. And it's like a house that's got the exact same layout as Dan and Roseanne's, but it's like 1,000 times nicer.
Yeah, there's like an episode or two that actually takes place in the Bowman's house, right?
Yeah, like there's an episode, like the episode where they move in, and Roseanne gets mad because there's like this kind of built-in shelf style that Roseanne has wanted in the living room. And Dan's like, oh no, our house isn't structurally built for that. Oh, but it is. And they have a dishwasher, and Roseanne's like, you told me we didn't have room for a dishwasher!
And the Bowmans have a young child. Is his name Todd?
Yeah, he's the exact same age as DJ.
And they're like frenemies.
No, they're like best friends.
But they get in arguments all the time, don't they?
They do, because they're like, what, 9?
Well, DJ always shouts when he talks, so Todd may have misinterpreted his tone.
Yeah, maybe.
Anyway, so this episode originally aired on October 29th, 1991.
Okay, so it's October 29th, 1991. How old are we?
I'm 10 years old. I'm in 4th grade at this time.
Same.
I did a little investigating here. We did a little investigative reporting. I wanted to, because this is the first year. I was 10 years old at this point. I just turned 10 like a few weeks prior. Mm-hmm. I was starting to become pop culturally aware of things.
Okay.
And 4th grade was kind of a big year, I guess, for me. ABC's lineup this year is impeccable. So we have Full House on at 8. This is also the first year it jumped from Friday nights to Tuesday nights.
Okay.
Following that is Home Improvement, the first year of Home Improvement. Obviously Roseanne at 9 because it's a little more racier. Followed by Coach. Coach is on at 9:30, which was in its 4th season this time.
Ooh, that's when Coach really started getting good.
Yes, and I'm really intrigued by the 10 p.m. drama this year. So it was something called Homefront.
Homefront. I recognize the title.
So I've never actually heard of Homefront, but I looked into it a bit and color me curious. So it was a series that aired for 2 seasons. It takes place in post-World War II Ohio. The Army boys are home, but the war has changed everything, and their lives will never be the same again.
Okay, sounds like something I would totally watch.
So listen to the cast. So it has a pre-early edition Kyle Chandler. He is in the lead role in the show.
Ooh, yeah.
John Slattery from Mad Men, and Melrose Places and Gossip Girl's Kelly Rutherford.
Oh, wow.
So I would have fucking definitely watched this. This is early 90s primetime soap.
This is totally something we would have watched if we were older and had been allowed to.
Yes, I definitely was asleep by 10 p.m. But so I read some IMDb reviews. One reviewer described it as being both a cross between American Dreams and Jack and Bobby.
Ooh, I like both of those.
Yes, so we have to track this down. If anyone has this, let us know. Because I looked it up on YouTube. Full episodes aren't there, but some notable scenes are. And I want like a full episode, though.
Yeah, we got to get our hands on this because this sounds amazing.
Yeah, so if anyone has like a VHS, if you can transfer it over to a DVD or rip it to the web, we will love you forever.
Yes, we will totally love you forever. We will send you a Christmas ornament, a very special podcast Christmas ornament.
Yes, you can hang it on your tree and remember us forever.
Exactly.
So should we announce our new website URL?
We should.
All this time we've had like a shoddy Tumblr URL, which is just too much to type in and remember.
You say so.
We are now at a very special podcast.com, bitches.
We are like totally professional and grown up.
Yes, and bitches is not part of the URL, so leave that out. We're still working on an email address. We're trying to come up with something fun. If you have any suggestions, definitely tweet us at Very Podcast.
Yes.
I found this website, TV Tango, where you can look up what was actually on in a particular date and time.
Okay, yeah, because I couldn't find... I was Googling today, and I just was not having luck finding that kind of stuff today.
Yeah, so I wanted to know what was competition on this night.
Okay.
What was, like, up against Roseanne. First things first, she won the time slot that night, of course.
But of course.
We're in, like, peak Roseanne at this time. This is, like, her peak season right here. I think season 3 and 4 is probably, like, her top.
I think this is my favorite of the Halloweens.
Yes. This one's really great. It's written by Amy Sherman, who will eventually become Amy Sherman Palladino, who created the Gilmore Girls and Bunheads.
Gilmore Girls.
I looked this up too. She also wrote like 3 episodes of Veronica's Closet too.
Oh.
That
interesting.
That's one of those, it's a Kirstie Alley vehicle.
Kirstie Alley and Kathy and Jimmy.
Yeah, it was like one of those shows that's on either after Seinfeld or Friends, I can't remember, but...
I think it was like in between.
In between, yeah. It didn't fully catch on, but it like lasted maybe like 3 seasons.
Yeah, just enough that like TV Guide channel, when that still existed, it would air it, like with the listings or whatever.
Yeah, so like Seinfeld was over or it was ending soon, and NBC was like shitting bricks, and they were just pushing big stars at us.
Mm-hmm.
And they really pushed Kirstie Alley onto the world, and they latched onto her for like 2 years, then they dumped her like a bad date.
Oh, poor Kirstie Alley.
Yeah, they probably saw that shitty movie she did with Tim Allen and was like, you know what, we can't have her on our network anymore.
It wasn't that bad.
Was it The In-Laws? Was that it?
No, it wasn't The In-Laws. It was the one where they went and lived as Amish people hiding from the government or the mob or something.
I remember the poster, and I think like Kirstie Alley's holding like a pitchfork, maybe?
Yeah, she's holding a pitchfork. She's got that like 90s hair. I want to say she still had like the bleach like highlights in the front. Do you know what I'm talking about?
I do.
Yeah, I think she had that hairstyle at that point.
So anyway, back to our network competition. Roseanne this night was up against In the Heat of the Night on NBC and a TV movie on CBS called Locked Up, A Mother's Rage.
Locked Up, A Mother's Rage?
It starred Angela Bassett and Cheryl Ladd. And you have to listen to this summary of the movie because I would have fucking watched the hell out of this. It's about a single mother. She's wrongfully convicted of selling drugs, leaving her 3 children in the care of her overburdened sister. While in prison, she battles for freedom and helps expand the visiting rights of children for incarcerated mothers. I'm guessing this is probably like based on a true story, maybe?
It sounds like it. And wait, Roseanne was on, Tuesday night? And CBS had a TV movie?
Yes. Well, because NBC notoriously had the Monday night movie, right? So CBS were probably like, you know what? We're going to lose. Let's just have the Tuesday night movie.
Well, NBC also had the Sunday night movie.
Oh, maybe that's what I'm thinking of. I probably got my nights wrong.
No, they had Sunday and Monday.
Oh, well... CBS obviously doesn't want to have the same soapy drama competing against another soapy drama, so
That's
they probably
true.
you know what, let's distinct ourselves to Tuesday nights.
Okay, yeah, I can see that. I miss those made for TV movies on network TV. You don't really get those anymore.
No, I mean Lifetime and Hallmark kind of does it, but they're
still very different though.
Yeah, they're very different. They're filmed and written in an ironic kind of a way.
Yeah.
And back then, they were written and filmed very serious.
So if you go back and watch some of them, you're just like, what is this mess? This is what you guys did for this story in 1980 something.
Yeah, this is how you became aware of happenings throughout the country, was through a made-for-television movie. And I love the ones that were events, the ones that were 2-night events.
Well, you know what ones I love? I love the ones that are based on the best-selling novels, like the ones based on a Jackie Collins book or a Judith Krantz book.
Or a Danielle Steele.
Yeah, those. I love those.
Yeah, you don't have those anymore, though. As I said, the ones that are made now are, really hokey. Lifetime just did a remake of Mother May I Sleep with Danger with Tori Spelling, and they had to give, a vampire concept to it.
Oh, yes. What was it you said to me? You were like, it's a vampire love story with a lesson? Didn't Tori Spelling play the mother in this one?
Yes, isn't that so depressing that she plays the mother?
Luke Perry is going to play Archie's father on the new Archie.
Yeah, Riverdale, it's going to be on the CW, right?
Yeah, and then Jerry O'Connell's playing a dad on Young and Hungry, and I'm just like, oh my god, I cannot at all. These guys who are my teen heartthrobs are now playing dads of 20-somethings.
And Gabrielle Carteris will probably be playing a grandmother soon, before you know it.
She's too busy running the union.
The SAG, is it SAG that she runs?
Yeah, the SAG-AFTRA, because they combined the 2 unions.
Oh, yeah. She just had some big news that was announced recently, wasn't it?
Yeah, didn't I tweet you something just the other day?
You did.
I don't remember what I tweeted you, though.
All right, so I have a survey question for you.
Okay.
All right, so on this particular Tuesday night, what would you have watched live and what would you have videotaped onto VHS on your spare television set?
I would have been watching ABC, and because I was 10. And if I was videotaped, it probably would have been the movie on CBS.
Yeah, I definitely would have recorded Locked Up because I was always a sucker for those meaty made-for-TV movies. And 1991 was definitely the golden age for the genre.
It really is that area.
I would have live watched the entire ABC lineup this year. And I distinctly remember the year Full House slid on over to Tuesday nights.
Yeah.
As I previously mentioned, I would have been in 4th grade this year, and Halloween...
Yeah, we would have been in the 4th grade.
Yep, Halloween was on a Thursday night, and I remember rushing home from trick-or-treating to get back in time for The Simpsons Treehouse of Horrors 2 and Drexel's Class. They had a Halloween episode that year.
And what?
Drexel's Class.
I don't remember that show.
All right, so Drexel's Class was... It starred Dabney Coleman. He played this corporate big shot who dodged taxes, and in order to avoid jail time, they made him serve as a 5th grade teacher in like a dangerous minds like school.
Okay.
He had no qualifications to be a teacher, but I guess he was kind of like street smart, but it was a Fox show. It lasted like 1 season and then it was done. Do you know also what was else on this night?
No, tell me.
Beverly Hills 90210, because it used to be on Thursday nights.
Oh my God, that's right.
And they had a...
Wow.
I remember watching this Halloween episode because it was on at 9 o'clock, and I remember watching it, and there was still like a few last-minute trick-or-treaters knocking at our door.
Oh my gosh.
And I remember getting pissed because every like 5 minutes someone would knock at the door, and I was like trying to pay attention to the plots, but it was like my friends that were knocking on the door.
Only every 5 minutes? Lucky you.
Yeah, well, it was like the end. It was the end of the night. Like,
yeah.
9:30 is probably like the final like trick-or-treater came around, but you're trying to get through a half hour of the show, and it just kept getting interrupted.
Yeah, I tried to one year actually like watch some TV while giving out candy, and no, that just did not work.
No.
I was like, oh, I'll get caught up on like Samantha Who or something ridiculous like that. And just every time I sat down, the doorbell went off and I had to give out candy. And then, of course, the worst is when you run out of candy and it's still early because there's like way more kids than anybody expected.
Yeah, and like nowadays, like kids like trick-or-treat at like 5, like before it even gets dark. Because in the new world, children will be murdered after dark.
Yeah, it's just ridiculous. Oh my gosh. I don't even want to think about how early it's going to start this year. Because I live in a real neighborhood again.
And like the parents like drive house to house too.
Oh my God, that's so ridiculous. Okay, so like the last time I had actual trick-or-treaters, I was living in Durango and we were living in an apartment. We were not expecting to get trick-or-treaters. We were expecting to get like the little boy who lived in our building and like his 2 little friends that he played with. We were expecting like nobody. Because we lived in an apartment, but it was in the middle of a neighborhood. We weren't thinking. But thank God we had like a crap ton of candy because we had a Halloween party the night before. And it got to the point where we were taking like everything we could find that was like suitable for a trick-or-treat kind of thing and giving it away because they just kept coming before we could turn off the light.
You didn't have to do like an emergency run to the Dollar Tree and grab some last minute goodies.
Oh my, we couldn't leave. They were just like, they were everywhere. These kids just kept coming.
It was like The Walking Dead.
Yes. I guess so.
Do you remember what you were for Halloween that year?
In 1991?
Yes.
Not at all. I cannot for the life of me remember.
I remember specifically. So I created my own Halloween costume this year. So I was a villain I made up for like a shitty comic book that I created in 4th grade. It was loosely based on the Avengers. It had the worst name ever. I named it the Kickateers.
Like the Rocketeer?
I think the Rocketeer was out this year, and I liked how something ended with tear, and I guess kick.
Yeah.
Kick was a good word to put in front of it.
Yeah.
So it was like a superhero team called the Kickateers, and the villain that I made up, I basically took Dr. Doom, and instead of being like made out of all metal, he just wore like all black. And he didn't have like a metal face, he had like a skeleton face. And his name, I remember this, his name was the Dungeon Master. And all right, this is great. He could time travel and he would kidnap victims throughout time. And then he would bring them back to his castle like in the Middle Ages. And then he made all his victims slaves.
Wow. That's like really complicated, Patrick.
Yeah, that is pretty intense for like 4th grade.
Yeah.
I had great plots, but I was a horrible, I sucked at drawing, so this is why it never took off. Like, I'm sure if I stuck with it and I perfected throughout the years, I could have been like a comic book writer, but being a shitty...
It just wasn't meant to be.
Yeah, being a shitty artist, like, discouraged me from going that route. And I also remember this same year, Halloween was nearly canceled. And I'm sure this affected you too, because the whole eastern coast of Massachusetts was struck by the perfect storm.
Oh, really?
Yes, all right, so this is an insane wind and rainstorm that devastated a lot of the coastal areas of Massachusetts, and I think like the whole like northeast coast.
I remember it being like a wet year.
Yeah, so there was a lot of rain on like Wednesday night, which was the night before Halloween. And then Thursday, like actual Halloween day, there was like light rains and a little bit of wind. And it was like questionable, like if it would be good enough for trick-or-treating.
Yeah.
But by the time like trick-or-treating rolled around, like it settled down. So we're actually like able to like go out and about.
Not like you actually went out and about in your own town because you guys didn't actually have trick-or-treating.
Yeah, we talked about that in a previous episode. I think this was like one of the first years that like trick-or-treating was allowed back in my town.
Okay.
After that.
The the apple with the razor blade destroyed Halloween.
Yeah, so if you go back to our 2014 episodes, I tell a story about like how Halloween was canceled in my town, but it came back.
Yes, it's actually the Roseanne Boo episode where you tell it.
Yeah, nice. All right, so it's great that it ties in. There's also another weird coincidence of this perfect storm and Roseanne. So this so-called perfect storm was also developed into a early 2000s movie called The Perfect Storm.
Wait, so the George Clooney movie, The Perfect Storm,
Yes.
is the perfect storm.
Yes.
That you had this Halloween, the year that George Clooney was on the Roseanne Halloween episode.
Yes, so George Clooney plays the character of Booker.
Mind blown.
And he also plays a character who dies in The Perfect Storm. So it's all kind of like tied together.
That is crazy. Like, my mind is so blown right now.
There are some wild things going on. So some other notable things that were going on in 1991 that are also culturally relevant to this episode of Roseanne is Terminator 2 was one of the biggest movies of 1991.
I could have guessed that because of what DJ wanted to dress up as.
Yes. So despite being an R-rated movie, young boys everywhere were super into Arnold Schwarzenegger.
My brother totally was.
Surprisingly, it is also what DJ Connor desperately wanted to be for Halloween because all of his friends wanted to be the Terminator.
Yeah, I think my cousins wanted to take my brother to see Terminator 2 at like a 10 o'clock showing. Like, I think they called and asked my mom, and she was like, no, there's so many things wrong with this. He's 8 years old. We're not taking him to a movie at 10 o'clock, especially a R-rated one.
Terminator 2 is probably the first R-rated movie that had novelty tie-ins, like backpacks and toys.
Yeah.
And this is hilarious, too, because in the previous years, Roseanne, DJ wanted to be a witch for Halloween. And this year, he wants to be a manly Terminator.
Yeah.
And another big movie was the Addams Family movie. It actually was released like a few weeks after this episode aired.
Okay.
And this reintroduced, the famous characters to a whole new generation.
Yes, I love those movies. I have them on DVD somewhere, probably under my bed.
So Angelica Houston portrays Morticia, and in this year's Halloween episode, both Jackie and Crystal show up to the Lobo dressed as Morticia Addams.
No, they're not at the Lobo. They're at the Lodge.
Oh, they're at the Lodge?
Yes. And Crystal is dressed as Elvira.
Well,
just happens to dress exactly the same as Morticia.
They both look the same. Jackie is Morticia. Crystal is Elvira. It's funny because Elvira was also considered a major sex symbol this year alongside Christina Applegate and Kathy Ireland.
Elvira will always be a sex symbol. Let's be real.
Yeah, but I think this was like peak Elvira time, though.
Yeah, this is like peak Elvira. This is like within the few years of when her movie came out, isn't it?
Yeah, I think like her movie was definitely early 90s, late 80s. She was still probably regularly on television and on posters in liquor stores.
Oh yeah, she was definitely on the posters in the liquor stores.
Oh yeah, like was she like a shill for like Coors Light or something?
Something like that.
Or maybe Bud Light, some kind of beer.
Someone will tweet us and tell us we're wrong, so it's okay.
Yeah, and the last bit of cultural relevancy that I want to add in, this doesn't actually affect Roseanne, the show. It affects you, because this is the year that the Minnesota Twins, your former home state, won the World Series.
Jeez, thanks for reminding me I lived in Minnesota.
And they won in Game 7, which just happened to be 2 days earlier when this episode aired. They won against the Atlanta Braves. And had this game been played a few days later, like on Halloween Day, they would have been playing in the snow because most of Minnesota was struck by a blizzard this year.
Sounds about right.
So not only was the East Coast being devastated by the perfect storm, the Midwest was being pummeled by a blizzard.
Thinking Midwest.
I guess that's why that's why you got the fuck out of there, right?
Yeah. The weather sucks.
So should we check in on Lanford and see what everyone's been up to since the last time we saw them a year ago?
It starts with outside the Connor house, and you hear these screams coming from inside. And Kathy's like coming to the door. And you can tell she's like really nervous because she doesn't know what's about to come in.
Yeah.
What she's about to witness. And she like gently knocks on the door and nobody answers. So she like pushes it open and there's this as she does so. And she's like, hello, Roseanne, Dan. As she like enters and she's like slowly like nervously walking into the house. She has no clue what's going on. These people freak her out on a daily basis. So Lord only knows what she's about to walk in on.
Kathy's creeping through the house. She's calling for Roseanne and Dan. They aren't showing up.
Yeah.
It's like a tense horror movie scene moment here. Like,
yeah, it's like, it's like supposed to be like earlier-ish in the evening. I'd say it's probably supposed to be like, it's before dinner time, but it's dark outside.
Well, it is October. It's past when daylight savings ends.
Yeah, it's probably like 5:30, 5 o'clock, and dark, and it's just creepy. It's like silent all of a sudden in the Connor home. And then that's when Kathy sees on the kitchen table, locked down, is Dan, looking like he's been gutted. There's like organs and blood, and Kathy's like freaking out, and she like walks like right into Roseanne, who's in this blood covered shirt, and she's got this bloody knife, and Roseanne's like, no matter how many times I tell myself it's just like gutting a fish. And Kathy's like, you've done this before? She's like, yeah, to Becky's dad.
I was so impressed with the way they splattered the blood on Roseanne's blouse. It would have made Dexter proud.
Yeah, it was great.
So Kathy and Roseanne, they always had this like tumultuous relationship. Roseanne would call her things like needle butt because Roseanne would say she was like so uptight you couldn't even like drag a needle from her ass with like a tractor.
Yeah, well, Kathy was uptight. She was like this stuck-up Chicago snob who was just so upset that she had to move to this small Midwestern town.
Do we know why Kathy was going to the house? Or did she just hear the screams? That was the whole objective?
I don't know. I think if she had heard them screaming before she got to the house, she would have like stayed the F away.
Yeah, because who knows what Roseanne is capable of. I mean, and it's Halloween.
You know, she's probably looking for her kid.
But you know what, though? For, like, in defense of Kathy, she hasn't... I don't think she was there last Halloween, so she doesn't know that, like, Roseanne is capable of these, like, amazing pranks.
Yeah, and I'm sure the neighbors don't like to talk about Roseanne's prank. They probably like to forget that they exist.
They keep their distance. They stay away. They don't want to get involved in her shenanigans.
Exactly.
And you know what, like... Kathy was probably like in her kitchen. She probably had the window open. It probably wasn't too cold.
She's probably like making pies or cookies or something. So she's got window open because the kitchen gets hot. And she heard something from next door. And she doesn't know where her kid is. She probably doesn't know where her kid is. Let's be real.
Yeah, well, it's the early 90s. Like kids were still allowed to like, get into their own mischiefness without like having DSS show up.
1991, I was probably running up and down the street with my brother and David and Caitlin from down the street.
All right, question.
Okay.
Do you think Kathy is the type of person who put candy pieces into like a little baggie, or did she do candy pieces separately?
She is probably that lady who gives out the toothpaste or raisins.
Yeah, because she's like, it's a no fun zone in the Bowman household.
Yeah.
And I feel so bad for Jerry, her husband, because he likes to have fun. He like chills with Dan sometimes. They have like beers in the garage.
He likes hanging with Dan. He likes being part of the lodge. And Kathy hates everything about Lanford. And Jerry's like trying to make the best out of it.
So Jerry works at the plastic company, right?
Yeah, he works at Kathy's father took over the company. And he's the guy that got sent to run it or something.
And Kathy's just this woman. She loves her old hometown. She's all about it. She's in this strange new place. Nobody likes her. Everyone thinks she's kind of weird.
Yeah, she's a big city girl stuck in this small town.
It's like a Journey song.
Yeah, she's just that like big city Chicago lady who's used to being able to go out to have sushi whenever she wants, or go to an art gallery or a museum, and now she's like in Lanford.
All right, so after the prank, she's now mopping up the mess. Dan's about to start carving a pumpkin. And this part's great because Roseanne spends like the next 10 minutes in her house. She's still soaked in like the blood blouse. And It's hilarious because nobody comments on it. Like all of her kids come in, Jackie comes in. Jackie lately comments on it, but she has scenes with her kids. I think the first two kids that come in are Darlene and Becky.
It's Becky and then Darlene. Becky's like, oh, what's for dinner? I'm not going to be home tonight.
Yeah, so all right, let's start with Darlene. So we're this is like a crossroads season for Darlene. So she's like morphing from the tomboyish athletic girl into like the mopey, almost goth teenager.
Yes. This is like the start of the transition. This is where Darlene starts just laying on the couch.
Yeah, so the previous year she was all about Halloween. She was like that costume where like an alien popped out of her chest, but there's a whole new Darlene. She just wants to stay home. She doesn't really give a fuck anymore. She's not hanging out with her friends anymore. We're at a weird place like culturally too, because popular music is headed in a bold new direction. 1991 signals the demise of the hair bands and the glam metal.
Goodbye, hair bands, glam metal, I love you.
We'll see you soon. So about a month before, late September saw the release of like Nirvana's Nevermind, which helped spur the arrival of alternative acts into mainstream, and possibly propelling Darlene towards becoming a Chainsaw Daisy fan.
Okay.
So Chainsaw Daisy, that's like her favorite band, which they were like an English riot girl band. There was an episode where she got like stranded at a Chainsaw Daisy concert.
I remember going to a concert and getting stranded.
They weren't as big as like Hole or Bikini Kill. They were out there, and it was great that the writers of Roseanne dug deep for Darlene to be into this kind of thing.
Well, let's be real. A lot of the writers for Roseanne were young and hip. They probably were like, okay, we'll just like give Darlene our favorite band.
So we kind of had like a funny moment here because Roseanne says to Darlene, like, you used to be into Halloween, like what's changed? And Darlene's like, yeah, like I used to also want to marry Scott Baio.
Scott Baio!
This is funny for a few reasons. So Charles in Charge ended the previous year, 1990. It's only been 1 year, and already we're having like Scott Baio viewed as a farce jokes. You can say the same joke today and it would get the same kind of laugh.
Actually, I'd probably get like that kind of cringy laugh though too, because of his recent comments and appearances.
His recent choices in life?
Yeah.
All right, so question. What early 90s Hollywood heartthrobs would Darlene have been into?
Probably Johnny Depp.
Yeah, Johnny Depp is a good choice.
This is like the start of the Johnny Depp obsession, which, okay, can I be honest? Johnny Depp does not do it for me. Never has. Like, maybe a little. I could see maybe a little with the 21 Jump Street. Maybe just a little. But not to the point where, like, today, I'm just like, oh. Like, the whole time he was with Kate Moss? No. Basically, that whole, just no. Like, I remember in college, everybody being like, oh, Johnny Depp. And I'm like, ew, he's old. He's, like, old enough. Ugh. No.
Johnny Depp might be too much of an obvious choice. I peg her as being a River Phoenix kind of lady.
I kind of maybe forget about River Phoenix sometimes.
Well, because he died, like, a year after this episode.
Yeah.
I didn't mean to laugh at that.
Were the Coreys still a thing at this point?
I think at this point in time, the Coreys are on their way out, because this is like when they started venturing into like softcore porn territory. So like they were trying to stay relevant, and they just couldn't do it.
Yeah, because this is like that period of time where it's kind of fuzzy, because this is, like you said earlier, this is about the time we started to really understand pop culture around us. But like we'll know stuff from back then, but there's stuff that we connected with at this point that differently than what we know of at that point. If that makes any sense, what I just said.
It does. All right, so on the other end of the Connor household, we have Becky. She's also abandoning her normal Halloween escapades. So she decides she's going to go to the movies this night.
Okay. What are her options, Patrick?
Here's a list of movies that were released around this time in 1991. What movie do you think Becky would have seen? Now, let me say all the movies first before you shut out the answer.
Okay, I will make my best attempt to behave, okay?
There's a few that you're going to like just immediately shut out and say, but I put my time and thought into this. All right, so the first movie I'm going to mention is Cool as Ice, the Vanilla Ice movie. Was released like a week before this episode aired. The second choice is Little Man Tate with Jodie Foster and Diane Wiest. It was a drama about a 7-year-old with some like high-level intelligence, but he sucks in social situations.
Okay.
Then we have My Own Private Idaho, coincidentally starring River Phoenix and Keanu Reeves. It's loosely based on Shakespeare's Henry IV. It's like a modern day take on it.
Keanu Reeves.
Then there's the Danny DeVito comedy drama Other People's Money.
Okay.
We have The Butcher's Wife with Demi Moore.
Okay.
Curly Sue, the classic John Hughes movie with Allison Porter, who eventually went on to be on Team Christina in The Voice.
Okay, yeah, I think No, I did not see that in the theaters. I saw a different one.
Then we have The Hitman, a Chuck Norris action flick.
Okay.
And finally, we have a movie she definitely did not see because it's a horror movie, and she specifically did not say she wanted to see horror. Two Evil Eyes, which was a collaboration between George Romero and Dario Argento, and they remade Edgar Allan Poe stories with like a modern twist.
Okay.
All right, so out of all those choices, what do you think that Becky went to see that night with her friends?
The River Phoenix Keanu Reeves movie.
That is exactly what I thought too. I thought you were going to go for Cool as Ice.
No, that's like my second choice. It depends on how lame her friends were.
Well, at this point in time...
It's really three options. Like, if it was Becky's choice, it was totally the River Phoenix Keanu Reeves pick.
Yeah, because
picture.
Becky is like a smart girl. She gets high grades. She's probably into literature. She likes Shakespeare. My Own Private Idaho is like a modern day Henry IV.
Yeah.
So that like totally would have been her thing.
Is she dating Mark at this point?
I think this is
I think she is.
I think this season Mark was introduced, but maybe not in this particular episode.
Okay. Because if she was like going to the movies with him, she totally went to the horror.
Yeah, she either saw that or The Hitman with Chuck Norris. Unless she secretly had other plans and she was like really going to a party to get drunk.
Which very well could be it.
Yeah, because this is like the cusp of the point where Becky was like being rebellious. Because dating Mark was a rebellious move on her part.
It really was, and then she just stuck with him.
Yeah, well, her character became like dumbed down as soon as she started dating Mark.
Well, yeah. Okay.
All right, so now that we got that out of the way, DJ comes into the room dressed up as Alfalfa from the Little Rascals, but he has like no idea what he is for Halloween.
Yeah, Roseanne picked this for him, and I don't understand why she picked it for him. That's always been one of the things that I've always questioned about this episode. Like, why would Roseanne pick this?
She probably owed someone a favor, and they're like, you know what, have your son dress up like Alfalfa for 2 minutes.
And we'll be okay.
But he really wanted to be the Terminator for Halloween. She allowed him to do it. He runs upstairs. He comes back downstairs dressed as the Terminator. It's a fucking amazing costume, by the way.
Yeah, because it's the Alfalfinator.
Yeah, it looks great. And he's like, Mom, where's my grenade? And she's like, it's in your bottom drawer. Like, where else do you think it would be? And he's like, oh, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Like, where else would you put...
It's the best line of the episode.
It really is. It's one of my favorite lines.
So, right about here, Jackie comes into the house.
Yes.
She's probably, like, hungover from the night before because she drunk dialed all her ex-boyfriends the night before.
Have you ever drunk dialed your ex?
No, but in the age of Facebook, it's a whole different thing, though.
Oh, God. Yeah.
How would you think Jackie would cope in the age of Facebook?
Oh, dear God. It would be a meltdown.
All right, so where do you think modern Jackie would be? Would she still be in the dating pool? Would she be married? Or would she have just given up on life and been like the weird cat lady who wears pink sweatpants with a tight, scrunchy elastic band around the ankles?
Oh. If Jackie were a woman today, she'd be the one, like, obsessing over her profile pic and what her profile said on this social media site and that social media site and this one and that. Like, she'd be all over the place. She'd be like freaking out because some guy messaged her on Facebook, but he won't answer her text, and he unfollowed her on Twitter or some ridiculous mess like that.
All right, I have a mission to our listeners. Send us a picture of your best take on a modern day Jackie. Tweet us at Very Podcast with the hashtag #WhoJackie.
Yes, do it.
So there's a big party going on tonight. It's not at the Lobo, as you said. It's at the Lodge.
Yes, it is at the Lodge. It is not at the Lobo.
All right, so the Lobo and the Lodge are two distinct places.
Yes, the place where Dan hangs out with just the guys, but then they have like the Halloween party with the haunted house, so the wives get to go.
All right, it makes sense now. So this year, the Lodge is having another party. It's like a costume party for adults.
Yeah.
And Roseanne and Dan have been like tight-lipped about their costume this year.
Yeah, they're keeping it secret. Nobody knows what they're doing. Dan mentions that he has to get more tubing, and Jackie's like, why do you need tubing for your costume? What are you going as? Why won't you tell me what you're going as?
All right, so their costumes ends up being Dedgar Bergen and Mortuary Snurd.
Yes.
Which I just looked this up today because I didn't know about this. So it's a ghoulish play on Edgar Bergen and his character, Mortimer Snurd. Edgar Bergen was a vaudeville-era performer. He dabbled in ventriloquism, and his sperm also happened to impregnate Frances Bergen, who in 1946 gave birth to future Murphy Brown, Candace Bergen.
I love me some Candace Bergen.
Who knew? So we have this weird ventriloquism act. So it's Dan is like the puppeteer, Roseanne is the puppet, and they're doing these like random meta jokes about Jackie changing jobs every year.
Yeah, Jackie changing jobs, and that she's a truck driver, so now she has to be in the front seat of the car.
Instead of the back seat. And also, right before Roseanne sings like a part, like in her act, you can hear Arnie yell, "Oh no, please don't sing."
Yes, which is totally a reference to the Star Spangled Banner incident. Let's be real.
Yes. And speaking of Arnie, so he's at this party, he's dressed as the ghost of Elvis.
Yes, that's like his go-to costume. Every time Arnie shows up in a Halloween episode, he's the ghost of Elvis.
Yeah, he was the ghost of Elvis the year before.
Yeah.
As we previously mentioned, we get George Clooney's final appearance as Booker.
Yes.
And he's in a moose costume to boot.
Yes, he's in a moose costume. Okay, so I was looking, when I was rewatching it earlier, I was like, it's like a Bullwinkle, but without the, like, sweater. That's what it looked like. It looked very much like Bullwinkle.
Yeah, they probably didn't get the rights to Bullwinkle, so they had to...
Probably not.
Just downplay it. One comment on George Clooney. It's safe to say that Roseanne was probably his, like, final stepping stone on the lower echelon before landing the role on ER and catapulted to A-list status.
Well, I believe he left Roseanne to do Sisters, which was an NBC Saturday night drama. And then he left Sisters to do ER. They killed him off Sisters because he played Celia Ward's boyfriend, then husband.
And ER was like the role before like he became an A-list actor.
ER is the role that like skyrocketed him to stardom.
I was looking at his IMDb page.
Yeah.
Nothing really stands out as being like truly mind-blowing. He spent a good chunk of the 80s and 90s taking pretty much like every television role offered, and then like nowadays he lends himself to trash like Tomorrowland, Ocean's 12 and 13, 11 was okay, and other 21st century junk like Spy Kids and Solaris.
Yeah, what is that?
And alright, so in 2015, they gave him a Lifetime Achievement Award at the Golden Globes.
Okay, I kind of vaguely remember this, yes.
That year, Tina Fey was like half of the hosts that year.
Oh yeah, Tina and Amy, now I remember.
She has the best comment on this. So she's like, all right, so your wife is a human rights lawyer who worked on the Enron case. She was an advisor to Kofi Annan in Syria and was appointed to a 3-person commission investigating rules of war violations in the Gaza Strip. But your husband is getting a Lifetime Achievement Award?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Look at his IMDb page. There's nothing spectacular on there. Like, he just takes everything offered his way.
That's how you survive as a working actor in Hollywood.
Yeah, like, he was the voice of a dog on South Park.
Yeah, he was. The gay dog.
And he's getting a Lifetime Achievement Award, and he's an A-list actor? No, I don't buy it. What did he do? Like, did he have like Facts of Life money that he like saved up? He didn't.
I don't know. I just remember that when the movie The Perfect Storm came out, he was like, it was the first time people did like the Bachelor of the Year, and he was the Bachelor of the Year. And I might have been slightly obsessed with George Clooney at that point, so. But
we now like idolize him as this huge star, but his movie roles are questionable.
Yeah, I prefer his TV roles.
All right, so should we go back to the lodge?
Yes, let's get to the lodge. Where are we at the lodge?
Kathy and Jerry Bowman, they show up as clowns with painted on smiley faces.
Yes.
And
show up as clowns.
It's hilarious because Kathy is a notorious sourpuss face.
Well, and she's like frowning the whole time. Sad and pissed. I don't think this woman ever smiled, like, at all.
No, and it's hilarious because Jerry wanted to go to the bar. He talked Kathy into going.
Yeah.
And it's surprising that he got Kathy to show up.
Yeah, everybody was like shocked that Kathy showed up.
Mostly Roseanne, because she believes that Kathy, the only reason she came to the lodge that night was to get revenge for the murder prank.
Yes, Roseanne is like convinced that Kathy is actually going to try and get revenge on her for the prank. Like, Kathy just wants nothing to do with you, Roseanne. She could care less about getting revenge. She would rather not have to talk to you, except your husband and your kids are friends.
Roseanne's following her around the bar. She sees Kathy and Crystal talking, and she's like nervous. She's like, what? Crystal's in on this plan too. She's like, what the fuck's going on? She's like, Dan, like, listen to me. And Roseanne follows her outside. She's like hiding in the bushes. She's got binoculars. She's like well prepared.
Roseanne is ridiculous.
So, you know what? The TV Guide writer might have been right. It could have been a night of terror for the Connors.
It could have been, but it wasn't.
At least for Roseanne.
I think if anybody had a night of terror, it was Kathy having to deal with Roseanne.
Yeah, well, one, she had to go to the bar in costume, deal with fucking Roseanne, like the megalomaniac that Roseanne is. Now, Kathy just wants to leave. She leaves the bar, and this is like a great scene. So, like, Dan and Jerry are at the bar. They're just, like, casually drinking a beer together. Kathy strolls up, and she's like, Jerry, we're leaving now. And Jerry's like, bye, Dan. And Dan's like, bye, Jerry. And that's it. There's no, like, hugging. There's no, like, oh, like a 20-minute goodbye. It just ends.
It's just like, okay, whatever. But it's 1991 and they're guys.
It's so great. So now we go back to the Connor house. Roseanne goes home. Dan goes home. They're about to go to bed.
They've got their makeup off. They're doing their, like, nighttime routines.
Someone put fucking snakes in their bed. Like, actual live snakes.
Yes. They're like, they pull back the covers and there's snakes and they freak out.
They freak out. They run out. Roseanne's like, that fucking bitch, Kathy. I can't believe it. All three kids come down. Darlene, Becky, and DJ. They come downstairs. Roseanne's like, I can't believe Kathy tried to kill me. Like, not play a joke on me. She tried to kill me. And Darlene's like, no, like, we tried to kill you.
Yeah.
Because
they're like, it wasn't Kathy. It was us.
The kids felt bad because they, like, abandoned Halloween that year.
So they, like, went and got some snakes. Where do you get snakes? Where do you get that many snakes?
They went to a pet store. Roseanne is so proud that her kids tried to kill her.
Yeah, like, suddenly she's okay with the fact that there's snakes in the bed.
That was like a good effort. That's like a good prank. I'm going to give it to the kids.
Yeah, that was like unexpected. They didn't see it coming. It wasn't bloody or gory.
Yeah, it was a real threat too. Like, those snakes could have turned and, like, actually bit the characters and they could have ended up in the emergency room.
Yeah.
And that probably put a lot of kudos points to Roseanne in regards to her children. So she's now, like, excited. She's proud of her kids. They have, like, a hug it out moment.
Yeah, they have a hug, and then kids have to go get the snake.
But Roseanne is still looking out the window out of the corner of her eye. She's like, Kathy's still out there.
Yeah, she's convinced Kathy's still gonna come after her.
Dan lets Roseanne go to bed. She doesn't want to, like, completely fall asleep, but she's probably just kind of, like, chilling in her bed. Dan's like, you know what? I just gotta.
No, I think it's the next day.
It's the next... No, it's still going to be Halloween. It has to be Halloween.
No, it's the next day.
You don't think that, like, after that whole party, Dan went onto the garage and was just like, he had one last beer, and then Jerry rolled over? I feel like that's like a man thing to do.
It's totally, like, the next night. It is totally the next night.
No, I don't believe you because...
Roseanne's probably been, like, paranoid all day that Kathy's going to try and get her. So Dan's just like, I'm just going to set this up so that Roseanne shuts up.
It's not the next night. I'll argue this to my death.
Okay, people have to tweet us at Very Podcast and say if it's that night, if it's Halloween night or the next night. Who's right? Is Kat right or is Patrick right? Let's be real. Kat is right.
I don't think Dan would put up with this shit for 2 days straight.
Dan puts up with a lot of shit from Roseanne.
Yeah, but I don't think he would put up with Roseanne being paranoid from a Halloween prank for 2 days.
Okay, whatever you say. I know I'm right.
All right, but regardless... Roseanne catches onto the prank. She sees the bucket. She sees the fake cat in the box. And she pawns the trick off onto Becky. Because I guess Becky likes cats?
No, well, because she's going to get revenge on Becky for the snakes in the bed.
And Dan's excited because, you know what, he got like a double whammy here.
He gets the peace of mind of Roseanne thinking Kathy got her revenge, and they get back at Becky.
And he can go to sleep peacefully that night.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much where the episode ends. Like, you don't really get
Yeah, that's where the episode ends.
You don't find out if Kathy ever got her revenge.
Kathy probably didn't. Kathy didn't need to. Really, not getting back at Roseanne was probably the best thing she could have done because Roseanne went crazy.
She took the high road.
Yeah.
What a wild night in Lanford, huh?
Yeah, that's like a wild, crazy night. Like, I feel like that's definitely one of the better Halloween episodes. You get kind of like a little bit of everything Halloweenish.
Yeah, so on the 3 we've done so far, Boo, the first one they've done, obviously is like top notch. It's the high one. But yes. I think Trick Me Up, Trick Me Down definitely trumps Trick or Treat, the previous seasons when we did.
Yes, it does.
Because that one didn't have like full Halloween vibes.
No, it really didn't. It just took that weird turn with that whole Roseanne dressed as a guy at the Lobo thing.
Yeah, and this year we returned to like the Halloween prank.
Yeah, there wasn't really any pranks last year, so
we got like a full-blooded Halloween episode.
Yeah.
And I will forever remember Roseanne for that.
Roseanne, thank you for making Halloween like a thing on TV, because it really wasn't before Roseanne. Like, there's stuff here and there, but not the way Roseanne did it, which led to the way Home Improvement did it, which it pretty much leads to every TV show now.
Yeah, so that was our first episode of Here Comes the Booze. Definitely join us next week when we venture into Brady Bunch territory.
Ooh, Brady Bunch.
The Brady Bunch have never had a formal Halloween episode, but they did have some spooky things going on.
Yes.
And we'll definitely get into that. So join us next week on the podcast. And I guess definitely check out all our things at Very Podcast on Twitter, a Very Special Podcast on Instagram, a Very Special Podcast.com, and that's about it, right?
I think that's it for now, yeah.
And I guess as always,
bye!
until next time.